Welcome everybody to our role playing for engagement. We hope you enjoy this video. I just want to start by saying, as with most everything that we go to do, preparation is really key in having a successful engagement call. And so just wanted to start with a couple of tips for you as you prepare for your call. A couple of things you'll want to have together and in front of you. One, we're making the assumption that you have already sent out an introductory email to your prospect. We think that's a great way to get things started, to just introduce the ministry a little bit and get them familiar with your name so that when they call, they may be more likely to talk to you. And there is a sample email or / letter in your handbook. So we would suggest looking at that first, and then you can tweak it to meet your needs. Second, go ahead and have your Operation Christmas Child stats ready. Those are listed in the general information section of your handbook. So you can find those there. It's good to know how many boxes we collected globally, domestically, what our TGJ participation numbers are. Those things are just good to have handy because if you're like me, you cannot remember all those numbers. Third, go ahead and have some key messages ready. As we talked about a little bit with engagement, it's good to have an approach that appeals to the person that you're talking with. And so depending on the particular interests of the church that you're talking to, you may want to cast vision for a different type of message. So a couple of messages that we're going to flash up here on the screen. One is talking through the Great Commission and really appealing to making disciples of all nations, that's something our ministry is really involved in. Another one would be, we share the gospel with the churched, unchurched, unchurched, dechurched, and the lost. Another way to approach it would be partnering with churches overseas to provide resources and a platform for the gospel. Some churches really have a desire to equip the saints overseas, so you could approach it from that angle. Another message could be that this is just a great way to involve families in global evangelism overseas and also personal evangelism in their own neighborhoods. So that's a great way to approach it if a church has a particular slant towards family ministry. And then finally, if you're talking to a children's pastor, you may want to talk about that it's just an amazing opportunity for kids to be leaders in ministry. So you can talk to them about that approach. And then you also want to have a copy of the script that's provided for you in your handbook in front of you. It's actually a really good script. I went back through and reviewed it. It's really solid. But one thing that we found helpful as we prepare for this call is rather than just having the script there, we like to take the script and actually bullet point out some of the key points so that they're just much easier to reference as you're talking through with your prospect. And then one other thing we'd suggest is to practice this with a friend or with a team member. It always helps you be more comfortable if you've practiced it a little bit beforehand. So just like Brandon and I are going to do today, you can practice this with somebody on your team. And then last but not least, we just want to encourage you to pray and really include prayer in your preparation. And especially if you have a prayer team on your area team, if you have somebody who's serving in that capacity, involve the prayer team. They would love to pray for you. And we know that prayer opens doors, so don't neglect to pray before your call. All right, well, so let's get started. Today, Brandon's going to be our team member, and for today, I'm going to be the pastor. And we are gearing this call more towards church relations, just for this purpose. But the principles that we're going to be applying, they're going to be the same whether you're a community team member, a media team member, or a prayer team member reaching out to Prayer Network partners. So stick with us. There are still principles for you to learn, even though the script is more geared towards church. Hello, this is Shelly.
Hey, Shelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, I'm doing well. My name is Brandon. I'm a local volunteer here for Operation Christmas Child. And I sent you an email about a week ago asking if there was a good time for us to get together to discuss, partnering with us in ministry. And so I was just curious, is this a good time for us to talk?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome, great. Well, have you ever heard of Operation Christmas Child?
Okay, so we're going to stop here and talk about just a couple of key points with the intro and things just to consider and notice in Brandon's approach. The first thing we wanted to point out is, he introduced himself as a local Operation Christmas Child volunteer. And we feel like that's important and probably a good lead into having a more positive response because it really gives credibility to your message and credibility to who you are. One, that you're a volunteer, and two, that you're here local. I think that's going to get you an entrance maybe easier than not identifying yourself as a local volunteer.
Yeah, and then another thing to pay attention to is that this isn't a cold call. You're not catching them necessarily off guard. So you might send an email first, and that's what I'm assuming is that I've already emailed Shelly. Or you can have a connecting point to kind of place you there that you might say a name. Hey, Pastor Dan Miller said to call Shelly. So make sure you tell them why you're calling or that they're aware of what this contact is, that it's not just out of the blue.
Absolutely. And that kind of goes back to just using your connections. If you have any type of connecting point within the church, utilize that because people are more likely to talk to you if someone that they know has referred you, but we know that's not always possible. The other thing that I think Brandon did that was good that we would suggest is just asking a question. He asked how it was doing, and then he asked, are you familiar with Operation Christmas Child? And this gets them engaged in the conversation, and rather than you just starting out talking for 5 minutes, gives them the opportunity to be a participant. And then two, we never want to assume that they didn't participate in Operation Christmas Child. I mean, obviously the reason that you're calling this particular person is because you didn't see them on the drop-off logs or you don't believe that they participated. But we all know that sometimes people drop off boxes but don't get logged in. So never make that assumption that they didn't participate and always ask that question. All right, so now we're going to move into kind of the meat of the message and a couple of things just to point out before Brandon gets started. This is the point where I think it'll be good for you to think through what are my two key points that I want to get across to this person. And I think it's going to depend on what type of pastor you're talking with, or if you're talking with a project leader versus a pastor. And so you'll want to tailor your message to their particular interests. And so for the point of this call, Brandon's going to be talking to a children's pastor. And so he's chosen 2 points that he feels like are going to appeal more directly to people who minister to kids. So be listening for that, and then we'll download it at the end of the message.
So have you heard of Operation Christmas Child?
Yes, Brandon, I have. Don't y'all send the shoeboxes around the world?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we do send shoeboxes around the world. We're part of Samaritan's Purse, which is a nonprofit global organization. And so we start with the shoebox. We send them to 135 million children since we began. And it's really just the start of a process of getting them in the hands of local leaders and then allowing them to really minister the gospel to children who may not otherwise have ever heard the gospel. And so it's the start of a 12-week program that we do. And so, yeah, that's exactly right. Now, do you guys participate with us?
No, we have not participated before.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'd love to get together sometime with you and discuss how we can come alongside what you guys already do. I know you're a children's pastor, and one of the great things about this ministry is that it's a tangible way to get your kids involved in global missions, that they can get involved with the missions work of what we're doing overseas and seeing lives change through the power of such a simple gift. And then also it's just so easy to incorporate into what you're already doing in children's ministry. Anybody can participate. It's not difficult. And so any of your children can do it. And it really is a cool way to do a ministry from a child to a child globally. So is there a good time that we could get together to discuss more how we could come alongside what you're already doing?
Okay, that was good. And just to download a couple of points about that, Brandon did. He talked very specifically about the children's angle of it. Easy, tangible, connects kids with kids. So that was really good. And then he did share some good general information about the ministry, because clearly the lady didn't have a good understanding of the ministry. She just knew that we sent shoeboxes around the world, so she probably didn't understand the scope of what we do and the mission behind what we do. So he did a good job of explaining that. And I think just an important thing to remember as you're, kind of getting into that meat of the message is, the goal of this isn't to tell them everything we have to tell them about Operation Christmas Child. You're really just wanting to offer a hook, so to speak, or offer some information that would interest them enough so that they're going to be willing to meet with you at the end of the call, that they would be willing to say, hey, yeah, I'll take 10 or 15 minutes to talk to you. And that really is the goal of this call is to give them a little bit of information to get them interested, and then be able to have that face-to-face meeting.
All right, so there are a few different ways that this call can go. Shelly was very agreeable, which I appreciate that, Shelly, making it easy on me. However, a lot of times when you make the calls, I'm sure as you're aware, you may get a lot of no's. So don't be discouraged by that. A no is just another route to take in your conversation. So when you introduce yourself and you ask, have you heard about Operation Christmas Child? If they say no, that they haven't, just go into some key messages. Pick out one or two things. Again, we're not making a big deal out of it. We're not trying to share everything we know. Just pick out one or two key things that you can share about Operation Christmas Child. And then from there, you can ask, if you can meet with them sometime to explain more, to give them some resources, to get them more familiar. So always lead towards, can we get together? Is there time that we can, talk? Another thing is when you ask if they participate, they could also say yes. If they do say yes there, make sure that you affirm them. Don't say, oh, okay, well, great. All right, well, we'll talk to you later, So again, this is a great time to begin to support a newly found project leader. So do you participate? Yes, we participate. Great. That's awesome. We're so excited. Have you heard about, what we collected this past year? Has anybody told you? Go into affirmation. And then again, if it's as it's nearing, the National Collection Week, what you'll want to do is add them as somebody to support. So how do you come alongside them? Do they have, resources? Do they have ideas? Are they setting goals? All the typical things you would do with a project leader. This is a great place to go with that.
Now, something to keep in mind when you're making these engagement calls is that some churches, for whatever reason, are not going to respond affirmatively. They may say no to everything. They may say, no, we've never heard of it. No, I'm not interested in speaking with you. No, I'm not interested in participating or partnering with your ministry. And I just want you to know that that is okay. It's not OCC versus any other ministry. And make sure that every volunteer, everyone who engages with these churches, is aware that we are still affirming them for what God has called them to, even if it's not Operation Christmas Child. So I would still say pray with them. I would still say, you know what, we're going to pray for you. I appreciate your time talking with me. And if you decide that you do want at some point to partner with us, leave your contact information with them. Hey, here's my number, here's my phone or my email, and just leave it at that. Bless them, smile, be happy, friendly. We're all on the same team, and it's important that we're never combative, we're never argumentative. If they don't feel led to partner with us, that's okay. And let them know that. Let them know, hey, we respect what you guys are doing. We respect your ministry. And, I fully understand if you're not ready to move in this direction. If you change your mind, if it is something you want to talk about or learn more about, I'd love to support you. And from there, it's, if they're okay with it, offer to leave some resources or send them some resources. We've got our brand new promotion kits. They're excellent for exactly that kind of thing. So, just something to think about.
So have you guys ever participated with Operation Christmas Child before?
No, we haven't.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, is there any time that we can get together so that I can maybe share some resources and some ideas of how we can come alongside you to partner? I'd love to, really walk through what that could look like for your church and give you some cool ideas of how to implement the program.
Sure.
Yeah, well, when would you like to meet?
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow's great. I'm free all morning.
Okay, good. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. See you then. So have you guys ever participated with us before?
Yes, we actually did. I think we packed about 200 shoeboxes last year.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. I like to view that as 200 gospel opportunities or 200 lives that were saved. I think that's just amazing. Is there a time that we could get together that maybe I can help support you guys so that you guys can do even more this year?
Yeah, I would love that. We can meet tomorrow if you'd like.
Well, I'm free all morning. Is there a time that's good?
Yeah, 10 o'clock would be good.
10. All right, I'll see you there.
All right, bye.
Bye. I would just say also make sure that you're explaining the ministry. A lot of churches are familiar with who Operation Christmas Child is, but don't assume that they know about the greatest journey or even the greatest gift. And I mean, as far as they know, it may just be a Christian version of Toys for Tots. So really investing in what are the key messages? You know, there's been 3.4 million children enrolled in the greatest journey. That's amazing, and share that with them. That's information that's really going to be impactful to most pastors and church leaders.
Good. And then finally, he knew what he wanted and he made a clear ask. And we're always moving towards, is there a time that I can meet with you to share a little bit more information with you? And the meeting, having a meeting with this person is the win, having a face to face conversation. So clearly laying that out there, is there a time that we could meet and I could share more information?